Hi everybody, Dennis here again. Welcome back to the bindery. Come on over here and take a look at these. So these are called pallet wheels, or just wheels sometimes, and what they are is a brass finishing tool for making designs on leather. They've got an engraved design all around the perimeter, and when heated up and impressed into leather, they'll leave a pattern. I was fortunate enough to be able to purchase a number of these, and I really want to start using them. But as you can see, some of them are quite large. They come in different sizes, different designs. I'd like to be able to find a way that I can store these so that they're easily accessible, that I can see all the designs on them so that I can choose which one that I want, but also to keep them up and out of the way to maximize space here in my little studio. So my idea for storing these is to reuse these drawers that came out of my kitchen reno. They're good solid plywood, maple fronts. I should be able to reuse those materials. And if I can wall mount these, then my idea is that I can take these pallet wheels and store them vertically. Hold on, someone's here. Hello. The tea delivery from my wife. Very kind. Store these wheels vertically, like so, and put some sort of a crossbar across here, which will then support them. That way I can store quite a few of them across the front here. The design is clearly visible, so I'll be able to select which ones I need. And I may even be able to have some more onboard storage down here for hand stamps, like another layer of stamps going across the front. And even some more storage up on top where I can put some things up there. So I just need to work out the design and the engineering for these. Oh no, glue. So it seems to fit pretty well for the different size wheels. The ones with the larger diameter wheels, and the ones with the shorter handles. I'll still have room down here to add another crossbar, and then I'll be able to put in those hand stamps. And I can reuse the wood from the drawer faces to make my crossbar pieces. And I'll also need a small stop rail down here on the bottom that the hand stamps can butt up against, so they slide all the way back there. And I've got two drawers, so I can make two of these. So it sounds like it's time to head off to the wood shop. So here we are in the basement shop. I'm going to start by taking the guide rails and all the other hardware off of these drawer boxes. I'll just transfer my measurements that I took outside in the bindery. And I'll also lay out marks on the drawer fronts so I can cut those down to size on the table saw. These strips are about 1.5 inches wide, I believe. Then using a crosscut sled, I'm just going to trim the ends off and put in a little stop block so that I can ensure that all my pieces are the same length. With those cut to length, I'm just going to test fit them by slipping them inside the drawer boxes. With those fitting well, I now want to carve them so that the tools don't slide laterally. So I'll just lay out some marks here to make 10 equal divisions. I'll just clamp those in the bench vise securely. It's really handy. Then I'm going to use this rasp. The rasp does a nice job of carving out these little curved recesses. And using a chisel as a stand-in here, I can just test my fit. I want to remove a little bit more material here so that the tools can sit a little bit further forward. So a little bit more rasp work gets those all taken care of. And then I'm going to turn to the drum sander here to just smooth out all of the rough marks from the rasp. With those done, I'll put them back in the cabinet, and I'm just going to pre-drill a couple of holes on either end and secure those crossbars with some screws. And here we are with a test drive. I brought some pallet wheels into the shop so that I can be certain that they're going to fit. Those are looking good, so I'll install the crossbar on the second cabinet. And then I'll put a tool in just so I can measure where I want to make the small stop bar on the bottom. I just cut that out of a small scrap of wood that I had here in the shop. I just put a spacer in the back, and I'm going to just secure the stop bar simply with a few brad nails. This doesn't need to have a lot of structural strength, it's just to keep the tools from sliding back. With that done, I'll lay out the spacing for the bottom rails. These will have a slightly tighter spacing, so they'll have 15 spaces per rail. And then just a little bit more time with the rasp, and I get those all roughed into shape. And I switched out to a smaller diameter drum on the spindle sander to get those all smoothed down. Again, I just pre-drill the screw holes to secure those and fasten them with some 1-inch screws. So to connect the cabinet to the wall, I'm going to use a French cleat. I need to cut a long piece of scrap plywood here with the table saw blade tilted to the side. It's about 10 degrees, I believe. I cut that first piece, and then with another piece of plywood, I'll cut the same bevel on both sides. And then my second short piece, I'll just cut in half to make 2 pieces that will attach on the back of the cabinet, like so. There's a slight lip on the back of each of the drawers. I just need to cut that away a little bit to allow the back rail to sit flush against the back of the drawers. I'll just cut those away using a handsaw and power flush cut saw and a manual flush cut saw. All the saws, I guess. I could have done this all with hand tools, I suppose, but the power tools made this particular cut a little bit easier. Then finally I'm going to attach the cleat to the back of the cabinet using a generous amount of wood glue. Then I'll flip it over and add some screws through the front-facing side. I use a piece of scrap wood with some marks laid out onto it to space the screws evenly, make sure they look presentable. And the last thing I want to do is cover the plywood edges. For that I'm going to use more of the maple from the drawer fronts. The table saw left a little bit of a burn mark on them, so I want to smooth that off and remove it, and I'll use a hand plane for that. Just a few strokes with the plane and I get a nice smooth edge. After smoothing out the boards, I run them through the table saw using a small scrap of plywood with a little lip cut on it, which makes a convenient thin strip cutting jig. And then I'll rip those down to size of about 1/2 of an inch in width. That matches the thickness of the plywood drawers. In a perfect world I would do a little bevel on these corners, but these pieces aren't quite long enough, so I'll just butt them together at the ends. I'll just use some wood glue to attach these. And to hold them in place, I'm using some painter's tape to apply some pressure and keep them from shifting around. Once I have those all in place, I'll add some clamps and set it aside to let the glue dry. Once the first one's done, I'll move on to the second, get that all glued up and clamped, and then leave those for about an hour or so until the glue is fully set. With all the clamps taken off, I want to smooth out the rough edges, and I'll just use a little bit of 220 grit sandpaper. I'll just tear it down to size using my shop-made sandpaper cutter. It's made just using an old hacksaw blade. I'll run the vacuum over everything to get rid of all the excess dust. Then I'll use a water-based polyurethane to quickly coat all the raw wood edges. I'm just doing one quick coat on these. It doesn't need to be perfect, they're just shop cabinets after all, but I do want them to look nice. So I'm pretty happy with those. I think they're going to do the job perfectly, and they look pretty good too. So let's head out to the bindery, put them up on the wall, and load them up. So that's just a little behind the scenes video today. Hope you found something enjoyable in it. I'll be back next time with more bookbinding projects. So stay tuned and I'll see you next time.